What do J.K. Rowling, Thomas Edison, Abraham Lincoln, and Oprah Winfrey have in common? They all failed, massively in some cases. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before getting the first Harry Potter book published. Thomas Edison famously failed hundreds of times before successfully inventing the light bulb. Abraham Lincoln lost 26 elections before becoming president, and Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. But their ability to fail forward sets them apart from others who have failed. They turned their setbacks into stepping stones towards success. I'm your host, Domi, and as you can probably tell, in this episode of the SRD Success Podcast, we're talking about failure. While we often hear about successful people and their achievements, it's important to recognize that failure is an essential part of the journey toward success. No one likes to fail, but in American culture, there is a stigma around failing that can hold us back from reaching our full potential. We're conditioned to believe that failure is a sign of weakness or incompetence. It's often seen as something to be ashamed of. We'll do anything and everything to avoid the possibility of failure. Simply put, failure is seen as a bad thing and as something to be avoided at all costs. This fear of failure can prevent us from taking risks, trying new things, or pursuing our passions. We become too afraid to step out of our comfort zones because we don't want to fail and be judged by others. Failure keeps us from achieving all that we can. It limits our potential. It keeps us from trying. And without trying, there is no eventual great success. This episode is about how to transform falling into winning. It's about how to bounce back from failure stronger and better than ever before. It's about how to take your lowest points and transform them into your highest mountains. We'll discuss the nature of failure, how to use failure as a teacher, the role of resilience, and much more. By the end, you'll have a better understanding of the power and potential of failure. You'll also be equipped with the tools to fail forward on your journey toward success. So let's dive into the world of failure and learn how to turn it into our greatest ally. Because as cliché as it may sound, failure truly is just a stepping stone towards greater things. Before you can transform failure into success, it's important to understand its nature. We tend to blow failure out of proportion and make it bigger than it is. We think of failure as if it's this completely terrible, horrendous, no good thing. But failure might not be so scary when you look a little closer. In so many cases, failure is almost entirely subjective. What may be considered a failure by one person may not be seen that way by another. And in some cases, what one person sees as a failure, someone else will see as a great success. And who gets to decide what constitutes a failure anyway? Most of the time, we fail to meet a standard that we've created. To put it another way, you might say that a lot of the time, failure is purely in our minds. For example, let's say you start your own business and it fails within the first year. Some people might view this as a total disaster and complete failure. But others might look at it and see the lessons learned, the growth experienced, and the courage it took to try. To them, it might be viewed as a valuable experience and a stepping stone toward future success. The point is, failure is very subjective. And when you start to realize that failure is subjective, then you can begin to use it as a stepping stone to growth. Famous basketball coach John Wooden said, "Failure isn't fatal, but failure to change might be." We tend to see failure as fatal, as if it's the end of the world. But it's not. Our failures are almost always much smaller than we perceive them to be. What is a problem is when we fail to learn from our failures, when we don't use them as an opportunity to grow. Perception is everything when it comes to failure. How we perceive something can drastically affect our response and attitude towards it. If we perceive failure as a personal attack or a sign of our inadequacy, it can be very difficult to move on from it. However, if we view failure as a necessary part of the learning process and an opportunity for growth, then we can approach it with a much more positive mindset. Robert F. Kennedy said, "Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly." We will never try to achieve anything great if we perceive failure the wrong way. If we see failure as the worst possible outcome, we'll do anything we can to avoid it. And while this may keep us from some failures, it will also keep us from achieving anything worthwhile. Another issue arises when we don't distinguish between setbacks and failure. In most cases, what we call failure is actually just a setback. Setbacks can be overcome. You can move on from a setback. You can learn from a setback and use it to your advantage. Failure, on the other hand, is a complete shutdown. At least in our own eyes it is. There's no opportunity for growth or learning because we've given up. We've labeled it as the end and refused to see beyond it. The truth is, most failures are actually just setbacks in disguise. It may feel like the end at first, but with time and perspective, we realize that it was just another bump in the road. And even if it truly is a failure, we can still choose to learn from it and use it to fuel our determination for future success. If Thomas Edison had given up after his first, or even his 50th unsuccessful attempt at creating the light bulb, we may still be living in darkness. But instead, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." He saw each failure as a step closer to success. See, failure is all in how you perceive things. If you perceive a struggle as merely a setback, then you're much more likely to keep going. You're more likely to keep trying, keep fighting, keep pushing forward. But if you see every struggle as a failure, then you're much more inclined to give up. If history teaches us anything, it's that most successes are built on a foundation of failures. People who have achieved great things will tell you that they failed countless times before finding success. But what sets them apart is their ability to see these failures as opportunities for growth, instead of dead-end roads. Now that you have a better understanding of what failure is, let's talk about the power of shifting your perspective. Because here's the thing, if failure truly is a matter of perspective, then that means we have the power to change how we view it. We can choose to see struggles as opportunities for growth, instead of dead ends. And by doing so, we give ourselves a powerful advantage. We become resilient and adaptable in the face of challenges. We become more open-minded and creative in finding solutions. And most importantly, we learn to embrace failure as a natural and necessary part of success. If you're going to overcome failure and bounce back better than ever, you need to reframe how you think about failure. It's essential that you see failure as feedback, not final. Did you catch that? Failure is not the end. It's simply feedback on what didn't work, and that's valuable information for future attempts. Instead of seeing failure as a reflection of your worth or potential, see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. By shifting your perspective, you can turn setbacks into stepping stones towards success. So the next time you fail, ask yourself, what feedback am I receiving right now? As a follow-up, ask yourself questions like, what lessons can I take away from this experience? What could I have done differently? How can I apply these learnings to future situations? Remember, failure is not a dead end. It's just one step in the journey towards success. And by reframing how we view it, we open ourselves up to endless possibilities for growth and improvement. One key aspect of reframing failure is cultivating a growth mindset. This means embracing challenges, persisting through obstacles, and learning from feedback. People with a growth mindset believe that their abilities can be developed through hard work and dedication, rather than being fixed traits. See, when you have a growth mindset, you view every circumstance, even the challenging ones, as opportunities to grow. This belief can help you bounce back from failure and setbacks, knowing that they are just temporary and not a reflection of your abilities or self-worth. Here are some tips to help you cultivate a growth mindset. Embrace challenges. Instead of avoiding challenges, see them as opportunities for growth and improvement. Persist through obstacles. Don't give up when faced with difficulties. Instead, view them as learning opportunities and keep pushing forward. Learn from feedback. Seek out constructive criticism and use it as an opportunity to learn and improve. Celebrate other people's success. Rather than feeling envious or threatened by others' success, celebrate it. See it as a reflection of their hard work and potential for growth, rather than a threat to your own abilities. Stay positive. It's important to maintain a positive attitude, even when faced with failure or setbacks. Remember that these are just temporary, and can lead to growth and improvement in the long run. Keep learning. A growth mindset involves continuous learning and improvement. So never stop seeking out new knowledge and experiences. By cultivating a growth mindset, you can reframe how you view failure and setbacks. Instead of seeing them as roadblocks or dead ends, they become opportunities for growth and development. Another way to shift your perspective and reframe failure is to see it as a teacher. Every failure is an opportunity to learn and gain new insights. The reality is that you can learn things through failure that you can't learn in any other way. For example, through failure you can learn resilience, perseverance, positive thinking, creative problem solving, and adaptability. By embracing failure and seeing it as a teacher, you can become more open to new ideas and approaches. It also allows you to let go of the fear of making mistakes, which can hold you back from taking risks or trying new things. Failure can also help you sharpen your skills. For example, let's say you have a public speaking opportunity and it doesn't go as well as you had hoped it would. When that happens, there are two possible ways you could respond. You could say, "I guess I'm just not a good public speaker," and leave it at that. Of course, if you do that, you will never improve as a public speaker. You will stagnate. On the other hand, you could say, "I'm going to learn from this how to be a better public speaker." Then, you could look at exactly what went wrong and what you could do to improve. In this way, failure becomes a learning process that helps you refine your skills and become better at what you do. Each time you fail, it gives you the opportunity to reflect on your actions and make adjustments for future success. Another aspect of the growth mindset is the belief in the power of yet. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," adding the word yet changes the perspective to one of potential and growth. This simple shift in language can have a profound impact on how we view our abilities and challenges. For example, instead of saying, "I'm not good at math," try saying, "I'm not good at math yet, but I am capable of learning and improving." This mindset opens up the possibility for growth and encourages a willingness to keep trying and learning. Imagine what the world would have missed out on had J.K. Rowling gave up after getting rejected by the first 12 publishers. We never would have had the wonderful world of Harry Potter and all the fun and joy it brings. Rowling didn't let rejection stop her from continuing to try. Instead of saying, "Well, I guess I'll never be published," she said, "I'm just not published yet." As we've noted, failure is not the end. A key element of bouncing back from failure is to learn what went wrong and what you can do differently next time. This process of reflection and analysis is essential for growth and improvement. So, how can we effectively learn from failure? The starting point for learning from failure is to analyze what went wrong. You need to engage in some healthy self-reflection. Ask yourself what factors may have contributed to the failure. Was it a lack of effort or motivation? Did you underestimate the challenge or overestimate your abilities? Were there external factors at play? Did you have the necessary resources or support? Were there any skills or knowledge gaps that impacted your performance? Did you set realistic goals and expectations for yourself? It's important to approach this analysis with both honesty and self-compassion. You need to be totally honest with yourself about what went wrong. Don't sugarcoat things. Don't pretend things went better than they did. Rather, look at yourself unflinchingly and do an honest assessment of what you really think went wrong. Don't blame anyone else. Rather, own your mistakes and learn from them. At the same time, be kind and gentle with yourself during this process. Don't berate yourself or think thoughts like, "I'm so stupid, I can't believe I did that." Rather, remember that you're human, and as a human, you make mistakes. These mistakes aren't final or fatal. They're stepping stones toward your greater success. Once you've analyzed what went wrong, it's important to identify the lessons learned from the experience. What did you learn about yourself? About your strengths and weaknesses? About your approach or strategy? About the situation or context? These lessons are valuable insights that can help guide your future actions and decisions. And here's a pro tip. Keep a journal or notebook to record these lessons learned for future reference. This can serve as a valuable resource in times of uncertainty or when facing similar challenges in the future. We've actually created a worksheet that can help you do just that. There's a link to the free download in the episode description. Now that you've identified what went wrong and the lessons learned, it's time to develop an action plan for improvement. This plan should include specific steps and strategies that you will implement to address the issues and prevent them from happening again in the future. For example, you may determine that you didn't prepare enough for your public speaking opportunity. To keep this from happening in the future, you could schedule more practice time and seek feedback from others before the next speaking engagement. You also need to set realistic goals and expectations for yourself and be open to adjusting your approach if needed. It's also important to seek out support and resources as needed, whether that be through self-study, seeking advice from a mentor or coach, or taking a course to develop new skills. With determination and persistence, you can overcome any setback and continue to grow and improve. As you pursue your goals, it's essential to track your progress. This will help you stay motivated and on track with your action plan. It will also give you a sense of how much you're growing. When you see this growth, your confidence will skyrocket. You'll be inspired to tackle the same challenges that stumped you previously. Additionally, it's important to celebrate your wins along the way. This can be as simple as acknowledging and congratulating yourself for completing a difficult task or achieving a milestone. Recognizing and celebrating your progress will help you stay positive and motivated on your journey of improvement. Setbacks are an inevitable part of life, but they don't have to define us or hold us back from reaching our goals. By developing an action plan, tracking progress, and celebrating wins, you can continue to learn and grow even in the face of challenges. So embrace those lessons learned, keep pushing forward, and never give up on your path to success. Now we're going to shift gears a little and discuss a culture of failure. How would it change things if you created a culture of failure? Not a culture that welcomes failure as the ending point, but a culture that welcomes failure as part of the growth process. How would that impact your family, your workplace, or your relationships? Creating a culture of failure can truly transform many areas of your life. It shifts the focus from avoiding mistakes to embracing them as opportunities for growth and improvement. Adopting a failure-positive mindset has many benefits, whether in our relationships, workplace, family, or friendships. It encourages innovation and creativity. When failure is seen as a stepping stone rather than a roadblock, people are more likely to take risks and think outside the box. This can lead to new ideas and solutions that wouldn't have been possible without being open to failure. Failure provides valuable lessons and feedback for improvement. By acknowledging and embracing failures, we can learn from our mistakes and continuously grow and improve. A failure-positive mindset also helps us bounce back from setbacks with a stronger sense of determination. It teaches us that failures are temporary obstacles on the path toward success. By creating a culture of failure in our relationships, we can build trust and open communication. When we feel comfortable being vulnerable about our mistakes, it creates a safe space for growth and understanding. Constantly striving for perfection can lead to high levels of anxiety and stress. By welcoming failure as a natural part of life, we can reduce the pressure to be perfect and instead focus on progress and improvement. And a failure-positive mindset encourages us to be kinder to ourselves. It allows us to see that failures are not a reflection of our worth, but rather an opportunity for growth. Creating a safe space for failure doesn't happen overnight. It takes intentional effort and shifts in mindset. We've all been so trained to avoid failure at all costs that it takes time and work to unlearn that fear. Here are some tips on how to cultivate a failure-positive environment. First, lead by example. As a leader or authority figure, it's crucial to model a healthy relationship with failure. Be open about your own failures and share what you've learned from them. This vulnerability can encourage others to do the same. Next, encourage yourself and others to try new things, even if there's a possibility of failure. This creates a sense of curiosity and adventure rather than fear. Give people permission to fail. Tell them up front that it's okay if things don't work out perfectly. The more people are encouraged to experiment, the more comfortable they'll be with failure. Then, shift the focus from achieving success to continuous learning and growth. Don't obsess so much over the results. Rather, celebrate progress, improvement, and lessons learned from failures. Help people see that what really matters is progress, not perfection. When someone experiences a failure, instead of focusing on the outcome, acknowledge their effort and resilience in trying again or learning from the experience. This reinforces the idea that failures are not a reflection of one's abilities or worth. It also encourages people to keep trying and not give up. Make sure that everyone feels safe and supported in sharing their failures. Foster an environment where people can openly discuss their mistakes without fear of judgment or repercussions. Encourage constructive feedback and support each other in learning from failures. You can also celebrate failures. This may seem counterintuitive, but it's essential to shift the mindset around failure. When someone takes a risk and fails, acknowledge their effort and what they've learned from the experience. This helps to break the negative connotation of failure and instead views it as an opportunity for growth. Google is an example of a company that embraces failure. For every one big success they have numerous failures. Over the years, they've released numerous products that simply didn't pan out. For whatever reason, people didn't embrace them, and eventually Google killed them. Things like Google Glasses, Google Wave, Google Buzz, and Google Answers just didn't work out. Despite these failures, Google continues to thrive and innovate. They don't let their failures define them, but rather use them as learning experiences. They know that if they keep experimenting, they're going to come up with winning products. Yes, they'll have some failures, but they'll also end up with products like Google Docs, Google Maps, and Gmail. Failure should not be seen as a dead end, but rather as a stepping stone towards success. Many successful individuals and companies have experienced multiple failures before achieving their goals. Henry Ford's first 2 automobile companies failed before he founded the successful Ford Motor Company. Walt Disney was fired from an early job for lacking creativity and later went on to create one of the most beloved entertainment empires in the world. The key is to understand that failure is part of the process of success. I'm going to say that again. The key is to understand that failure is part of the process of success. Failure is integral to success. Without failure, we will not learn and grow. Without failure, we will not innovate and improve. Yes, there is that rare occasion when someone succeeds at something on their first try. But that's not the norm. The norm is more like struggle, fail forward, make progress, fail forward again, make more progress, and eventually succeed. If failure is a stepping stone to success, then perfectionism is like quicksand. It sucks you in and keeps you from moving forward. Many people are afraid of failure because they don't want to look incompetent or imperfect. However, striving for perfection can hinder progress and innovation. Perfectionism often creates a fear of starting. When we focus too much on getting everything perfect, we delay taking action or avoid pursuing new opportunities altogether. This reluctance to act can stem from a fear of failure or making mistakes, but ironically, trying to avoid imperfection often leads to stagnation. Progress comes from learning and adapting, not from waiting for the perfect moment or outcome. Instead, we should strive for excellence, which allows room for growth and improvement while still moving forward. By letting go of the need to achieve perfection, we unlock our potential to be creative, adaptable, and productive in ways we never thought possible. In the end, what matters most is that you're always moving forward, always making progress, always learning, always pushing ahead. Failing forward means using our failures as opportunities to learn and grow. It means not being paralyzed by fear of imperfection, but instead embracing it as a necessary part of the process. There will be bumps and setbacks along the way, but those are just temporary roadblocks on your journey towards success. Failure is not an end point, but rather a stepping stone that can lead you to new heights. So embrace failure as a natural and necessary part of progress. Embrace the lessons learned from your failures and use them to drive you further towards your goals. With this mindset, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Remember that failure is not final. Often we think we've failed because of our perception. Reframe your mindset so that you see failure not as the end, but as a stepping stone to greater success. When you do experience failure, Take the time to analyze it and see what went wrong. By identifying the lessons you learned, you can use those to develop an action plan for future endeavors. And don't forget to download our free worksheet to help you analyze your failures and learn from them. The link is in the episode description. Above all else, always keep moving forward. Don't stop. Don't stagnate. Don't let the fear of failure keep you from being all that you could be. You've got great things in your future. You just have to reach out and grab them. Thanks for spending a little while with me today. I hope you've gained some insights into failure and will start looking at it a little differently now. See you next week.